Coming up on NTV tonight.
Tonight, waiting for salvation.
Serikali bwana ingilia hii kitu juu.
High Court declines to slam the brakes on the new fuel tax and the lifeline across the border for Kenyans running on empty.
Mimi naona nitakuwa nachukua hapa Uganda na naenda kufanya kazi Kenya.
Also tonight, plugging the leaks at the Kenya Pipeline Company.
The common denominator in these rip-offs is interference, involvement, intervention, and control of tender processes.
DCI investigates how 2 billion shillings was siphoned out of Kisumu pipeline project.
Plus, the mystery of the Garissa County Executive shooting, a suspect in court, and relief for the family of the self-confessed hitman David Mohammed.
Also tonight, IEBC Secretariat brushes off procurement dirt revealed in audit report.
NTV Tonight with Dennis Okari and Olive Burrows.
Very many thanks for joining us. Our sign language presenter tonight is Flora Atieno, but you can also watch us live on our website, that is ntv.co.ke/live, and also YouTube, Facebook and Twitter, that is at NTV Kenya.
And our sign language interpreter tonight is Flora Atieno. A suspect in the attempted murder of former Garissa County Executive for Finance Mohammed Hussein was on Tuesday arraigned in court, where his advocates applied for a 2-day break to seek medical attention.
His lawyer, Wycliffe Ombeta, told the court that the suspect was tortured in police custody, denied the right to counsel, and was wrongfully detained. NTV's Kevin Mutai reports.
Hussein Aden Mohammed alifika katika mahakama ya Milimani asubuhi kwa ajili ya kusikizwa kwa kesi dhidi yake ya madai ya kupanga njama ya kumuua Idris Mohammed, aliyekuwa waziri wa fedha kaunti ya
Well, we apologize for that. We'll bring the full story in a short bit, but let's now switch gears to IEBC. The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission has spoken about the alleged possession of fake papers belonging to Garissa Governor Ali Korane, which is at the center of the shooting of Executive Mukhtar.
In a statement sent to newsrooms, IEBC says it cleared Korane to vie for the governorship position on the basis of the nomination documents he presented before the IEBC, which included a duly filled self-declaration form.
The IEBC has pointed out 7 instances of compliance with the law in the procedure followed to clear Korane for the race. This coming after lawyer Charles Kanjama alleged that a second fraudulent file was generated and may have been created at the IEBC after investigations.
IEBC says the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission requested for the nomination documents, including the originals, and they complied.
The IEBC is further inviting ODPP, EACC, DCI to interrogate the matter and ensure that anyone found culpable is duly punished.
Back to the story that started our bulletin. A suspect in the attempted murder of former Garissa County Executive for Finance Mohammed Hussein was on Tuesday arraigned in court, where his advocates applied for a 2-day break to seek medical attention.
His lawyer, Wycliffe Ombeta, told the court that the suspect was tortured in police custody, denied the right to counsel, and was wrongfully detained. NTV's Kevin Mutai reports.
Hussein Aden Mohammed was brought before the High Court Deputy Registrar Faith Mugwongo at around 10 a.m. on Tuesday, 9 days after he was arrested and held at Gigiri Police Station. Hussein's head was covered using a jacket for what the family argued was protection, fearing that his life might be in danger.
He has indicated, Your Honor, to me and other counsels that he was tortured, and he said that his private parts and all those injuries that he's received.
And this is a habeas corpus application. On the issue of medication, we have no objection.
In his application, the defendant asked the court to order his release on grounds that he needs urgent medical attention.
The suspect, that is Mohammed Hussein, who has been produced before court today, be taken for treatment at Kenyatta National Hospital.
Hussein Mohammed is one of the suspects believed to have allegedly contacted a lady who hired the hitman David Mwai from Dandora to kill Idris Mohammed. Although detectives have not disclosed details of their investigations, Aden will be held in Gigiri Police Station until 6th September 2018, when he will be taken back to court for an inter-parties hearing.
What business do I have to sack somebody because somebody wants to be paid? And in the process, he thinks that he can form one-man army to force the governor out of office. I can't imagine how foolish he is. And I can assure you he'll be the loser.
Governor Korane was speaking 2 months ago at a hotel in Garissa in a meeting attended by Senator Yusuf Haji, Deputy Governor Abdi Degane, Fafi Member of Parliament Abdul Karim Osman, among other government officials. He has since denied involvement in the Idris shooting, slamming claims by lawyers that they were also targets of assassination.
Na hiyo mambo ya kusema ati wakili alikuwa awawe, mimi naona upuzi. Kenya hiko wakili 20,000. Na kama mtu ako na kesi, kama lawyer moja hayuko, kwa dakika 5 unaweza kwenda kwa lawyer mwingine.
There are reports that Mwai's wife, who was arrested with him, is alive, and that her mother has been keeping her away from the limelight amidst the raging controversy on the murder of her husband, who had confessed to having shot former Garissa finance executive Idris Mokhtar. Kevin Mutai, NTV.
Well, let's move on now. Kenyan motorists in border towns have found solace in neighboring countries, especially Uganda, where they are able to buy cheaper fuel with the newly implemented 16% VAT on fuel, having raised prices to levels many describe as unaffordable.
There is little likelihood of a quick relief as the High Court has refused to suspend the implementation of the 16% VAT on petroleum products.
Judge Chacha Mwita ruled that the legislative process was incomplete until President Uhuru Kenyatta assents or rejects the bill.
And Kenyans, it seems, will have to wait for that much-needed presidential intervention as the fuel burden becomes almost unbearable.
NTV Zainab Ismail brings us more details.
Kenyan motorists in Bungoma, Busia, Trans Nzoia and Siaya counties have now been forced to cross borders into Uganda to fuel their vehicles in the wake of a rocket-high petrol and diesel prices in the country.
Nitakuwa nafanya kazi Busia nikikunywa mafuta hapa Bumala, amini Uganda. Sasa hii 131 na mimi naona hapa ni 110. Si hata heri ni kunyunga mafuta hapa kwa boda. Juu hapa kuvuka gate hakuna kitu nalipia.
Naona imeongezwa na 2000 zaidi ya yenye tunakunywa. Yenye huwa tunafueri kwa gari. Kwa hivyo ukikuja kuchukua mzigo hapa unapata ni advantage kidogo. At least unaokoa kitu.
In Uganda, a litre of super unleaded petrol retails at 108 shillings compared to Kenya's 131 shillings, 23 shillings cheaper per litre. And the scenario seems to resonate in different parts of the country. Baringo County probably feeling the hardest pinch yet.
Kama saizi pambu zote hasina mafuta, rodi ndio hii imesimama, hakuna vile itaenda ilete hiyo mafuta. Mafuta bei iko juu zaidi. Hiyo ndio tunaomba sana mtusaidie. Kwa sababu hata sisi pamba tenda kama hakuna mafuta, hakuna vile tutaweza kukaa kwa station bila mafuta.
Supermarkets have already increased prices of basic commodities such as sugar, maize flour and wheat flour. Many sectors of the economy suffering, most notably the transport system.
Kweli kama kwetu hapa Baringo. Hapa bado tuko chini sana kiuchumi. Ni lazima wananchi wasaidiwe. Taksi ile minaomba ni taksi watu wa tajiri. Sisi ambao tumebarikiwa na Mungu, nasi tutoe tax.
Fuel pumps in Kabarnet have started drying up.
Lori imesimama, hakuna mafuta, hata ya mafuta taa watu hawezi peka. Magas sasa gas unapata si watu wengi wako na gas ya kupika kwa nyumba. Gas pia bei iko juu. Gas ilikuwa 900 unapata sasa ni 1200. So watu wako na shida mingi. Malori ya kuleta chakula town hii ni ngumu kufika juu unapata zikupandi mustuni mafuta isifika huko. Juu kama hii nyuma yangu ni lori ya mafuta na bado iko hapa for 3 days ijaendea mafuta.
And things as it looks might be even tougher in the coming days as tanker owners and distributors affiliated to the Kenya Independent Petroleum Distributors Association and fuel truck drivers barred tanker drivers contracted to transport the product from Mombasa to the Nairobi depots from accessing the main depot in industrial area in Nairobi for the second day in a row.
Sisi ndio source. Sisi ndio tunatransport mafuta. Sisi tukisimamisha watu wa matatu walijaribu wakashindwa, wengine tukaona sisi juu sisi ndio tunatransport mafuta, wacha kwanza tusimamishe. Na mafuta hatusimamishi. Tuliona kuna gari za CID. Sisi security hatuwezi kosa wazuia wabebe mafuta. Security ni lazima wabebe mafuta, hata watu wa hospitali. Hata Kenyatta kukiisha mafuta wakuje, wataingia na watoke. Lakini hawa wengine hakuna mtu anafaa kukuja hapa kukujia mafuta. Wacha station jirani dry ndio sauti yetu isikike. So
we are not loading, we are not transporting. We are waiting. We have already talked. We are waiting for the authorities basically to reverse their decision because it is just killing any other Kenyan.
Attempts to temporarily stop implementation of the tax have run into problems with the High Court declining to issue orders stopping it. This follows two petitions that were filed by the Central Organization of Trade Unions KOTU on Tuesday and activist Okari Mtata on Monday. It is feared that most petrol stations will run out of stock in the next few days if the strike persists. This even as Kenyans have been going on a mad rush to refuel after word went round about the distributor strike, raising the threat of a major fuel shortage.
In protest to the 16% VAT on petroleum products, truck fuels under the Kenya Independent Petroleum Dealers Association have joined other Kenyans in demanding for the scraping off of the levy. And as fuel products decrease in petrol stations across the country, it is just a matter of days before the adverse effects of the protest is felt. Zainab Ismail, NTV.
Well, the fuel price hike will be one of the topics that Kenmi Jung will be discussing with his panel of politicians, experts, and also an activist, Okari Mtata, on sidebar after this news bulletin. So you don't want to miss that part of the discussion. Now, moving on now, fuel transporters and their loaders at the Kenya Pipeline Company's Eldoret Depot have expressed concern at the lack of jobs caused by the increased cost of fuel.
NTV's Lois Wangui reports that traders in neighboring countries have kept off the Kenyan depot owing to increased pricing of fuel in Kenya.
Fuel traders from neighboring Uganda are keeping away from Kenyan suppliers owing to the just introduced fuel levy. Kenyan loaders and transporters are now staring at possible job losses.
Hapa asubuhi tumekuja kama kawaida, tumepata kama magari za export zimeogopa kukuja hapa pipeline kwa sababu ya bei ya 16% yenye serikali imetuambush nayo. Sasa umepata magari, hakuna magari ziko kwa parking huko nje.
Ocheng is among loaders and transporters affected by the 16% VAT increase on fuel. They arrive here daily at the break of dawn, relying on casual employment from all traders to fend for their families. The last 2 days have seen them jobless.
Bado ni hizi mafuta, sorry, ya bei ya mafuta ndio imesumbua. Hatuchukui hata kwa sasa, mimi naenda parking na nimeadhirika sana.
Zamani the seller and the buyer walikuwa wanaelewana kwa urahisi, kwa haraka sana kwa bei yao, kwa kama biashara walikuwa wanaelewana haraka, walikuwa wananunua mafuta, magari zilikuwa inapeleka huko nje, ilikuwa inakuja inachota, walikuwa wanaelewana haraka, bei ilikuwa sawa. Lakini saa hii mwenye kununua huko na mwenye kuuza wanaona kama bei hawezi kuelewana, bei iko juu.
At the end of the day, the loaders and transporters feel the inch of the fuel tax some more as they are forced to part with a few more coins.
Tunaumia hapa chini sana. Saa hii hakuna kazi. Vile nitaingia kwa nyumba, sijui nitaingia na nini. Hakuna kitu nitaingia nayo kwa nyumba, na wenzangu hapa pia kama wafanyakazi wa chini.
In justifying the implementation of the levy, CS Rotich had noted the imposition of VAT on petroleum products is primarily to improve tax collection. Now, those in the fuel business say the additional tax is hurting the very industry the government aims to collect more revenue from. Lois Wangui, NTV, in the county of Uasin Gishu.
The pain of the new fuel tax and the outrage that followed its implementation amid concerns about the spiraling cost of living forms the basis of our opinion question tonight.
MPs have been among those calling for a review of the new levies, but do you trust your Member of Parliament to help bring down the cost of living?
Text us your thoughts. Use the SMS number 20686, that is 20686, and we will sample some of those views in our broadcast.
The question again is, do you trust your MP to help bring down the cost of living? The Directorate of Criminal Investigations has formally launched investigations into the possible loss of 2 billion shillings at the Kenya Pipeline Corporation.
The loss is tied to the construction of the Line 6 pipeline from Sinendet to Kisumu.
NTV Silas Apollo reports that even as details emerged of a letter written by the DCI to the Kenya Pipeline Corporation, the Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi has called for the prosecution of top managers of the Kenya Pipeline Corporation, the board and politicians implicated in the multi-billion shilling theft at the institution.
The letter from the Directorate of Criminal Investigations says that the investigators are interested in how the contract for the Line 6 project was awarded and later cancelled. According to the DCI, focus will also be on the committee that awarded the contract, its membership, as well as the deliberations that led to the award. In the letter, KPC has been asked to supply contract documents for the projects, tender committee meetings of the contracts to projects, as well as a list of tender committee members present during the cancellation of the project. KPC management has also been asked to provide contract document to China Petroleum Pipeline, the company which won the tender, as well as give reasons why there was a variation of $2 million in the contract and the tender minutes for the approval of variation to China Petroleum Pipeline. Contacted, the Kenya Pipeline Corporation said that it was aware of the back and forth communication with the DCI, but could not comment on the matter since it is an ongoing investigation. KPC had said that the Sinendet Kisumu line would help increase volumes of products moved by additional 360,000 litres per hour.
This is not the first time that the Kenya Pipeline Corporation is on the spotlight of a misuse of public funds. Just 3 months ago, the corporation hit the headlines over 2 billion shillings tender scam. The DCI has now launched investigations into the scandal. Amani National Congress leader Musalia Mudavadi has also jumped into the fray.
The common denominator in these rip-offs is interference, involvement, intervention, and control of tender processes by cabals of politicians and foreign bidders and their local surrogates, KPC managers, and the board.
Mudavadi singled out the construction of the Kisumu Oil Jetty, the Line 5 project, the 10 pump station valves, valve automation project, and the Sinendet Kisumu pipeline as some of those marred with irregularities. The result, he says, was a loss of billions of shillings. He says the theft at the Kenya Pipeline took time and was laid out over a period of years, and that those who were steering the company during the different periods are well known.
The running theme is how the culprits manipulated, variation of contract terms, and works to steal from the public. We as ANC therefore demand that these matters must be thoroughly investigated, satisfactory answers given, and culprits jailed.
Silas Apollo, NTV.
The Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission Secretariat has termed as false most of the claims captured by an internal audit report that revealed that the Commission could not account for up to 9.2 billion shillings for various contracts it awarded for the supply of goods and services used during last year's general election.
In a detailed response report in our possession, the Secretariat has responded to all the audit questions raised, with the responses highly contradicting the findings of the audit report.
According to the audit findings, the Tender Evaluation Committee had recommended the purchase of 45,000 Kenya Integrated Elections Management System KIMS kits at a cost of 3.8 billion shillings. However, the contract was awarded to Saffron Identity Solutions at 4.1 billion shillings, resulting in excess payment of 396 million shillings, 300,000. However, the IEBC Secretariat says the consolidation of the cost of the KIMS and cost of the provision of technical support worth more than 300 million shillings resulted to that total amount of 4,196,300,000 shillings, which is what was awarded. IEBC is said to have directly procured BVR IBM server infrastructure maintenance and KIMS infrastructure security monitoring solution and awarded the contract to IBM management at a contract sum of 452 million shillings. Audit findings revealed that the Commission's ICT department had recommended the service to be procured at 75 million shillings. Physical verification revealed no installation had been done at both the primary and secondary data centers. IEBC denies this, saying the payment to IBM management amounting to 377 million shillings has neither been paid nor requisitioned for. In addition, IEBC says some of the deliverables were not implemented because IBM terminated the contract on 9th October 2017, while all the unverified deliverables fell under the contract. The commission was to build a new converged server for a primary data center and disaster recovery site to support its electoral technology requirements. The tender was awarded to Africa Neurotech Systems Limited at a sum of 249 million shillings. The audit verification shows data centers were never utilized for the intended purposes, and the commission paid the vendor before testing and commissioning of the equipment. However, the IEBC Secretariat terms these findings as false, saying the data centers are for the Commission's day-to-day operations, and these systems have been installed in specific hardware and storage equipment. The Secretariat says payment was done after all verification, inspection, and acceptance was done. IEBC was found to have contracted Oracle database and security solutions at a sum of 274 million shillings within 3 days. Audit findings showed that IEBC disregarded the ICT department that had recommended the purchase of the services at a cost of 80 million shillings. The Secretariat says the 80 million shillings was only adequate to acquire Oracle licenses, and that after a review and assessment of the Commission's technology done by Oracle, it became clear that the extra funds totaling to 194 million shillings were required to purchase the Oracle database and security solution to adequately address the gaps identified. The audit says out of 1.3 billion shillings relating to results, transmission services and goods, IEBC wasted or lost more than 555 million shillings. The audit established that IEBC bought 149,640.5 gigabytes of data bundles valued at 127 million shillings, resulting in unutilized, expired and wastage of 149,035 GB of data bundles valued at 127 million shillings. However, the Secretariat says the reported 605 GB was a consumption derived from the transaction logs during the election day only, saying the SIM cards were in use for a period of over 30 days prior to elections for configuration, testing and training. Vincent Odur, NTV.
The chairman of the Kenya National Examinations Council, George Magoha, has warned teachers, students and parents against being conned into buying fake 2018 examination papers.
Magoha dismissed question papers already in circulation as fake.
Magoha says there are heads of schools who have bought question papers for as much as 10,000 shillings.
He, however, maintained that this year's exam was secure.
At the same time, Principal Secretary in the Ministry of Education warned that schools found cheating will have their exam results cancelled.
The leaders were speaking at a meeting that brought together education stakeholders to assess their level of preparedness ahead of the national exams.
The fake exams have started circulating. They shall remain fake. So please don't waste your time confusing our children by looking at them. The best thing to do is to go back to the syllabus. Don't even waste too much time on past papers. Go back to the syllabus and revise some of the topics. We don't expect you to know all of them, but you will know enough to pass.
We shall not waste the time of our examiners marking exams of centers that have given us problem by exposing exams early. What we shall do is that we shall excuse those teams, but before we excuse them, those who are in charge will have to go through the process that such people must go through. That we will face the full wrath of the law, and for our children, we shall not waste their time by having them stay in school for 21 days, doing an exam that we know we shall cancel at the end of it all.
The reforms introduced into the examination sector in the past 2 years have played a pivotal role in improving the whole examination process. National examinations are now more credible than they have ever been, and they stand as a reliable measure of the level of achievement of individual candidates.
Police in Migori County have arrested Michael Oyamo, Migori Governor Okoth Obado's personal assistant, on suspicion of involvement in the abduction of Daily Nation journalist Barack Odwor and university student Sharon Otieno.
While condemning the attack, media lobby groups said the move is aimed at curbing media freedom.
NTV's Mel Miendo reports this is not the first time the media is facing attacks.
The abduction of Nation journalist Barack Odwor, who covers the expansive Homa Bay region, may tell a story of more than meets the eye. Migori Governor Okoth Obado's personal assistant, Michael Oyamo, is said to be behind the kidnap and assault and is now in police custody in Uriri Police Station, Migori County. Just before the arrest, however, two media lobby groups came against the attack, citing a ploy to suppress the media. In a statement, the Kenya Union of Journalists notes that, and I quote, "Intimidation and attacks will not stop journalists from telling these stories of infidelity and wanton corruption in the two counties where there are no tangible results of devolution, 6 years after billions of shillings started trickling from Harambee Avenue in Nairobi to counties." It adds that, and I quote, "The media exists as a watchdog to ensure there is accountability from leaders, and its work is not to please the county leadership and unscrupulous business community who have become millionaires overnight." End of quote. According to the Media Council of Kenya, the journalist was attacked in the line of duty. In a letter to the Inspector General of Police, Joseph Boynet, the council is calling for action, stating, and I quote, "The Media Council believes this kidnap is linked to his journalistic work. We kindly request your office to open investigations into the matter with a view of prosecuting the perpetrators." End of quote. Further action is being demanded from the Director of Public Prosecution and the DCI. Barack Odwor was kidnapped on Monday night alongside 26-year-old Sharon Otieno moments after leaving Grasa Hotel in Rongo. Barack jumped out of a moving vehicle, but the whereabouts of Sharon are still unknown.
Like, I thought you're a good friend of mine. Kumbe you are an enemy.
Just a week ago, on 31st August 2018, another Nation journalist, Ndongo Gashane, was assaulted and arrested by police outside Murang'a Water and Sanitation Company offices while taking photos of police officers manning the gate as people broke down the barriers put up by the county government.
At the minute, had you identified yourself?
The Murang'a-based correspondent was roughed up and was only released after the intervention of the county AP commander, Mohammed Farah. August 16, 2018, two Nation Media Group journalists were arrested in Mombasa for filming the construction of a hotel that had allegedly encroached the beach. NTV senior coast cameraman Karim Rajan and Daily Nation photographer Laban Waloga were arrested while on official duty, with reports indicating that the multi-billion hotel in Shanzu area is owned by a top government official. The attacks were termed as vicious and a threat to media freedom. And in one of the ugliest scenes of media attacks in Kenya, on March 26, 2018, the Kenya Police Service was on the spot for assaulting and injuring journalists at work. GSU and plainclothes officers attacked TV and newspaper reporters and cameramen as they covered the drama that ensued when lawyer Miguna Miguna's planned return to Kenya from Canada. Nation TV cameraman and producer Robert Kishira was left bleeding while his camera and live broadcast equipment were damaged by officers. News reporters from from Citizen TV and KTN were also attacked. Kenyan media has been under siege since the Jubilee regime took office in March 2013, with some of the worst attacks on members of the Fourth Estate in the era of multi-party democracy. Malmiendo, NTV.
Well, NTV tonight is about to take a short break. But before we take that break, I just can remind of our opinion question we're asking. Do you trust your MP to help bring down the cost of living? That's the question of the day. And your responses are coming through on 20686. You have one?
Yes, I do. Somebody here says, they know government must discuss about this. Juraia kama sisi tunaumia.
We have Mohammed, who says that if what they passed in Parliament is not respected, let them go ahead and punish the person refusing to implement it. That way I can trust their call for postponement of the implementation of the petroleum product. Another one here says, I don't trust them because the MPs will obviously go for handouts. There's no name there. Thank you for your responses. Keep them coming. We're going to sample more before close of this bulletin. Let's take that short break. Welcome back. A suspect who was in possession of ivory worth 3.5 million shillings was today charged afresh in Mombasa before Chief Magistrate Julius Nangea.
The DPP brought in additional charges for the accused after it was established that he had lied about his identity.
The suspect had also faced similar charges of ivory possession in Bomet and Narok.
However, the prosecutor's case ran into challenges after the magistrate dismissed an application from the DPP to take the suspect's fingerprints to ascertain his identity, as he had presented a false ID card, having forged someone else's identity.
Well, the government has embarked on a major plan to enhance security on Lake Victoria amid a growing list of complaints by local fishermen over constant harassment by Ugandan authorities.
Interior Cabinet Secretary Fred Matiang'i says there will be a massive deployment of police officers both to the areas bordering the lake as well as on the waters in what he describes as a move by Kenya to secure one of its largest water resources. Okusa reports.
Matiang'i's comment came at a time when 6 Kenyan fishermen from Nyangwena Beach in Migori County were being held in detention at Vuvumai in Uganda for allegedly fishing on Ugandan waters. Kenyan fishermen have for a long time complained of harassment and torture by the Ugandan authorities who arrest them on claims of trespass.
Sisi tumekaa na Waganda kama majirani, lakini hao hawezi kuona hiyo. Kama ni mbaya, itakuwa mbaya.
But Matiang'i, who hinted at a Kenya Defence Forces inclusion in the new security plan, assured the fishermen of an end to their woes in the coming days.
With the passage of the Coast Guard Bill, now we are stepping up our deployment and our focus on patrolling Lake Victoria. Because the concerns that have been raised about the security of our fishermen and so on, and we've been on this for quite a while. It's time for us to bring this to an end.
Matiang'i said that with the tightened security on the lake, smuggling of illicit liquor and illegal drugs into the country will be stamped out.
And we have traced that most of this bangi is not actually grown in Kenya. It comes from, some of our neighboring countries, which means we need to do a better job. At the border, we need to do a better job in terms of tracking the movement of this bangi and drugs along this, so that we are able to deal with that situation.
Kenyan and Ugandan security forces have been holding joint planning meetings in the past weeks to address concerns by both countries.
But on the other hand, we ourselves are stepping up deployment so that we have a better patrol, more personnel, more equipment, and more development of security infrastructure along the Lake Victoria, as it were.
Huko Kusa, NTV.
From that story by Okukusa, we are taking another short break, but Olive Burrows, who's slightly under the weather today, should I say ailing, we'll be back with business news.
Now for the business, the price of electricity may reduce if the Lake Turkana wind power project pulls its weight into the national grid within the next month, enabling the government to do away with expensive diesel power. Energy Cabinet Secretary Charles Keter says Kenyans should expect some reprieve on the cost of power, but has not indicated exactly when that will happen or by how much. He spoke during the pre-commissioning of the wind power project in Loyangalani, Marsabit County.
With the completion of this line, and the one of the solar 55 megawatts, which is also going to come in. These are renewables. They will not be using, currently we are operating about, out of our total installed capacity of 2,400 megawatts, 700 megawatts run on diesel. With the rise of prices of fuel, you automatically expect to see the FCC going up. But with the injection of this, which is about 350 megawatts, it means that out of the 700, we will not be using, we've been running diesel right now anyway, we are doing about 14%. Am I right, Jared? 14%. We are doing about 90% on the renewables. But there was a time we were doing almost 50%. So with the injection of this line, we will be running hardly about 200 megawatts of diesel. The ones which are in isolated areas like Mandera, other areas, about 23 stations are standalone, which runs on diesel.
Kenya's largest telecommunications company, Safaricom, has been handed a temporary respite from the nearly 500 million shillings penalty that it is facing in connection to allegations of blocking calls to a smaller company, as focus of the case shifted to jurisdiction of the tribunal that is handling the matter, as Victor Kiprop reports.
The much-anticipated ruling that would have otherwise seen Safaricom part with 0.2% of its gross revenue, equivalent to 449 million shillings, could not be delivered as attention shifted to the chairman of the Communications and Media Appeals Tribunal and his suitability to adjudicate the matter. In their submissions, the Communications Authority of Kenya, which is the first respondent in the case, argued that the chairman, William Okech, was not qualified to lead the tribunal as per the 2010 constitution.
Arising from KICA 1998, the qualification of the chairman was 7 years. That changed with the provisions of KICA Amendment Act of 2013, which increased the qualification of the chairperson from 7 years to 10 years to conform with the new constitution of 2010.
The regulator asked the tribunal's chairman to recuse himself from the case, a move that would have denied the tribunal sufficient quorum to hear the case.
It's our humble submission that before there is a determination of the question of defect or otherwise, we humbly submit that the orders that were issued by this tribunal stand until there is any other decision made by this honorable tribunal on the question of appointment or qualification of the chairman.
Safaricom was fined a total of 449 million shillings on the 1st of August for blocking calls from its rivals Elige Communications Limited and Geonet Communications and ignoring directions to the contrary. The telecoms firm, however, denied the allegations and appealed to the Communications and Media Tribunal on August 20th, arguing that it was not given sufficient time to be heard, among other grounds.
Now, today's ruling by the tribunal marks yet another temporary reprieve for Kenya's most profitable company in what would have been the largest fine to be ever imposed by the Communications Authority of Kenya. Meanwhile, attention shifts to the next ruling on the 28th of this month, when the tribunal decides on whether it is properly constituted to handle this matter. Victor Kiprop, NTV Business.
More than 500 retired employees of the former Pyrethrum Board of Kenya are crying foul over the disbursement of their benefits from the Nakuru-based state corporation. In 2016, the Commercial and Admiralty Division of the High Court ruled that the benefit scheme be dissolved under the Office of the Attorney General. But to date, many of the retirees are yet to get their monies, complaining of a never-ending back and forth between them and their former employer.
At 77, Robinson Kuria still holds fond memories of his tenure at the defunct Pyrethrum Board of Kenya, now the Pyrethrum Processing Company of Kenya, where he served for more than 2 decades until his retirement.
It was one of the best pension schemes in my own opinion,
But somewhere along the line, it seems to have hit a snag. And things became rather haphazard.
Robinson is the chair of the retirees, but he hasn't been receiving any retirement remittances for the last 5 years.
I'm living in a shack. You see, it's mabati, the walls are mabati. How else, how far can you take somebody down? Huh?
Other retirees blame the successive managements of the pyrethrum processing company for failing to heed their plight, even under the intervention of the Retirement Benefits Authority that took the matter to court and a decision to dissolve the pension scheme arrived at.
This issue of pension has been a thorn in our flesh for a long time because those people worked for pyrethrum board for more than 40 years and retired. Have been depending on the pension for their daily living.
Even our government, even our president, even the Ministry of Agriculture, which is the mother ministry to this Pyrethrum Board of Kenya, are they thinking about the pensioners in any way?
It is estimated that the Pyrethrum Processing Company of Kenya owes the retirees close to 2 billion shillings and has assets amounting to more than 5 billion shillings in Nakuru alone.
The same assets are being leased out wantonly to some individuals. Some leases are running as far as 30 years, 20 years.
The retirees are now appealing to the Ministry of Agriculture to resolve the prolonged stalemate between them and their former employer, since many of them are senior citizens and are more often plagued by disease, and worse still, they have no finances to cater for their needs. Our efforts to speak with the management of the Pyrethrum Processing Company of Kenya were unfruitful. Bridget Ngana, NTV, Nakuru.
President Uhuru Kenyatta's visit to China scored big wins for Kenya, with Chinese private investors lining up for public-private partnership deals worth billions of shillings. The major deals that the Chinese investors want to put their money into include an expressway from the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport to Westlands.
President Uhuru Kenyatta is leaving Beijing, China after a 2-day conference with the Chinese president and other African leaders, and he has been able to leave this country heading into Kenya with a bag of goodies, and on the table will be 4.2 billion Kenya shillings in grants, and this, he says, will be deliberated once he reaches Nairobi, and those projects will be discussed once they are there.
And I commend you once again, Your Excellency, for your announcement of an additional $60 billion to drive the implementation of this new plan of action.
Other than the grants, President Uhuru Kenyatta has also been able to secure funding for the Western Bypass. This will connect the Jomo Kenyatta International Airport with Kangemi and the Westlands area. This, they say, will be one unique project that will be under the public-private partnership. The CS4 infrastructure, James Macharia, just said that this will go to a private company from here in China, will construct that particular road, and once that investment gets back to him, he will be able to leave the project to the government of Kenya.
So that is a critically important, that the money is not coming from debt, it's coming from the private sector, because that road is commercially viable. I've been there 6 a.m. in the morning, and the jams are starting 6 a.m. in the morning. So anybody wanting to use it as an investment, clearly they'll get their return back. That cost, what will happen is they'll invest, they'll do the tolling, they'll do a tolling, and then after some time, after the money has been recovered, the road will come back to us, as government.
President Kenyatta is also seeking to construct a road from Modogashe all the way to Elwak in the northern part of the country. This 143-kilometer piece of road will also be part of the new signings that they have been able to secure here in China as well. Well, the most talked about project that probably many Kenyans thought President Uhuru Kenyatta would be discussing would be the standard gauge railway, which was on the table. Transport CS James Macharia says that the SGR Phase 2B was on the table, but there are some nitty-gritties that need to be taken into consideration. And they say that this could be a very expensive affair, but then again, in terms of the terrain, that is why they need that much money to be able to continue with that phase of the road.
All documents are ready. However, when we engaged the Chinese government, it was agreed that they do support it, but we need to complete the feasibility study not just for Naivasha to Kisumu, but also all the way from Mombasa to Kisumu, so that as one project, we can determine its commercial viability.
During this visit, President Uhuru Kenyatta has been able to ensure that public-private partnership will be the way to go, considering that Kenya already owes China a lot of money, and this will be able to ensure that he can be able to secure his Big Four agenda while also be able to cushion Kenyans from so much in terms of money that will be taken back from the country. Leila Mohammed, NTV, Beijing, China.
Business is done, I'm not, but here are the financials.
NTV Financial Report in association with the University of Nairobi. Join the renowned University of Nairobi School of Business for market-driven.
OneXBet, huge jackpot.
Thank you for staying with us. Brace yourself for heavy rains and flooding. The Kenya Met Department says the country is likely to experience above average rainfall between October and December.
The forecast yet again comes with a warning that the country should be prepared for the adverse impacts of the rains, such as destruction of property and possible disease outbreaks. NTV's Helen Aura has more.
The short rains of October to December forms an important part of the country's rainfall season. But the Kenya Met Department forecasts that the rains will this time be heavier than usual in most of the country. Western, Nyanza, Rift Valley, Northern Kenya, Central, Nairobi included, Eastern and the coastal region are expected to receive above normal. It's expected that the rains will be well distributed throughout the season. November will be the peak month. However, the heavy grey clouds often carry more than moisture. Days of relentless downpour have given way to more tales of devastation. Also down in the drain have been the long-term plans to store and make good use of the rainwaters. In Nairobi, for instance, as the city struggled to stay afloat under the extreme weather conditions, the county government announced it had cleaned out the drainage systems and laid out plans to stop loss of lives and destruction of property.
The people who deal with disease control should look at areas that are normally impacted by waterborne diseases to put certain mechanisms in place to help the mwananchi.
Farmers have also been urged to take up this opportunity and maximize on-crop production. In some areas, the focus is more gloom, as rains could destroy crops and make access to markets difficult.
The recent warning by the Kenya Meteorological Department has posed many questions. Are we prepared as a state for heavy rainfall? And what are some of the disaster management measures the government has put in place following the recent series of heavy rainfall and floods? Helen Aura, NTV.
We take a short break, but the beautiful Dennis Okari will be back with the sports news.
Now, it's time for sports. And for the first time since its launch 15 years ago, the Safaricom Sports Personality of the Year Award Soya Gala will be held outside Nairobi, with Mombasa County getting the honor. This is after the organizers of the event signed a memorandum of understanding with the Mombasa County government. The deal was sealed by Mombasa Governor Hassan Joho and Soya founder Paul Tergat, who is also the National Olympic Committee of Kenya president, at the governor's office, Mombasa. The county will not only host the gala, but also partner with Soya in initiatives to nurture coast-based sports like water sports and beach games. Soya awards has 16 categories where sportsmen and women, coaches, federations and community heroes are rewarded.
Helen Obiri.
15 years on,
County 001 gets to be the first county to host soya outside Nairobi. For us, this is a big thing. This is huge. And we certainly don't take it for granted. So we want to commit to you that soya coming to Mombasa only opens for us a new page of discussions going forward. And for me, the epitome of this whole process would be how do we create that much needed synergy of developing our youth and largely sports.
Mexican boxer Yamilet Mercado jetted into the country early Tuesday morning ahead of a highly anticipated WBC World Super Bantamweight title challenge against Fatuma Iron Fist Zarika. Mercado has won 12 times and lost only once, and this will be her first fight outside of her native Mexico. She faces stiff opposition from the reigning WBC World Super Bantamweight champion Zarika, who won the title in 2016 against Jamaican Alicia Ashley and defended her belt against Zambian Catherine Fury in Nairobi last December. As Mercado was jetting in, Zarika was training in gyms across Nairobi in preparation for the fight scheduled for Saturday night at KICC.
Hakuna wimbo yenye ambapo inakuwa inacheza kwa akili yako, kitu yenye ambapo unakuwa unafikiria kwa akili yako, ni ngumi gani naweza piga huyu msee adunde na first round game isiendelee tena. Hiyo ndio kitu yenye ambapo inakuanga kwa akili.
Menengai Cream Homeboys head into Dallas Sevens. That is the fifth leg of the Stanbic National Sevens circuit, looking to bounce back from a fourth-place finish in the Driftwood leg. Dala will be powered by Vivo Energy Kenya to the tune of 1 million shillings through its new Shell V-Power fuel and Shell Helix car engine oils. The DJs who won the first 3 legs in a row top with 81 points, while Mwamba stays second with 70 points after securing 19 points at the coast for reaching the final. KCB remained third with 66 points, while Driftwood Sevens champions Nakuru RFC now have 63 points in fourth place. Kabras Sugar complete the top 5. After Dala, the 6-leg circuit will conclude in Nairobi with their Christie Sevens.
This sort of partnership is what enables the wheels turn around in these tournaments, creates an exciting platform for the players to play, for the coaches to also showcase what they've done, and also for the fans to engage with the game and enjoy it.
Greg Snow of Muthaiga Golf Club is still the overall leader of the second leg of the Safari Tour Golf Series that is ongoing at the Vet Lab Club. Snow finished round 3 at level par to maintain his overall score at 7 under par. Sigona professional Sunjan Shah is 4 shots back, while veteran Dismas Ndiza had a round of 2 under par 70 to lie third. In the final round Wednesday, the leading group of Ndiza, Shah and Snow will tee off at 9 a.m. with an eye on the 1 million shilling prize kitty. The 6-leg Safari Tour will culminate in the Safari Tour Classic in February next year.
Okay, good.
Well, that does it for sports. Over to you, Olive.
Safarilink has launched flights from Nairobi to Kisumu, increasing competition on the already busy route. The maiden flight left Nairobi yesterday with invited guests on board, among them Tourism CS Najib Balala. Also on the flight was Kisumu's First Lady, Dorothy Nyong'o. The airline will have 2 daily flights to Kisumu as well as 2 from Kisumu and will be operating from the Wilson Airport.
invite His Excellency.
The government of Kenya, through the CM.
Well, that's all we had for you in this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Dennis Okari.
And I'm Olive Burrows. Our sign language interpreter has been Flora Tieno. Coming up is Sidebar with Ken Mijungu, and thank you for staying tuned.